Okay, I believe that we are live. Yes, we are live. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing session where we have the super talented and amazing speaker with us, Dr. Mohit. And today's session would going to be really insightful, interesting, and very valuable to you. If you are in AI, ML, deep learning, LLMs, and all the exciting space, right? So, let me introduce yourself to Dr. Mohit. Then we can start the session. We are thrilled to welcome Dr. Mohit, a renowned AI researcher, TED speaker, and best-selling author, for an exclusive live session that you're watching right now. Congratulations on Careers in Generative AI. With over 2 decades of experience in artificial intelligence innovation, 25 plus global patents, and deep expertise in GenAI, LLMs, and cloud native AI systems. Currently, he is working as a staff software engineer at Google. Previously, he worked as head of AI researcher at NVIDIA, principal AI researcher at Microsoft, and group manager at IBM, and have a lot of experience in AI research and patents. So, you can imagine how much valuable these sessions would be for you. So, brace yourself, everyone. Let's make your Sunday very productive for the next 1 hour. So, without further ado, let's go to Dr. Mohit. And yeah, so hello, Dr. Mohit.
Hello.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So, would you like to tell us about yourself so that then we can start the session? Almost I've
yeah.
covered, although a bit about yourself. So, starting from your journey.
Actually, I have a better way to say that. So let me share my
Wonderful.
screen.
Cool.
My screen is visible, right?
Yeah, screen is perfectly visible.
Okay. So this is in short about my journey. So in this 2021 years of the career, one thing very peculiar that I want to start my journey with, and this is very specific to the context that we'll be putting in, is that I had around 7 career changes in the last 20 years. So I started my career from Navy, to be very specific, from Merchant Navy, and there onwards I sailed for a long time and then came and settled down in India, opened a business, and then I did my MBA. After MBA, I went into real estates, marketing, and from there again I changed my career, and then I came into IT, to be more specific, IT consulting. From there, I went into software development and then to AI software developments, and then I became an architect for AI softwares, and then now a researcher. So there has been throughout like 7 very drastic career changes for me, not just the company changes. The company changes, I think you already spoke about the last 3 companies. But even in then, after my PhD, which was into cybersecurity, from cybersecurity to now GenAI security, these are like very different worlds and altogether. So why I'm telling you this particular context is what we are going through will resonates to what we need to do to stay relevant. I'll stop here, and if you have any further questions, I'll take that, and then we'll go into the main presentation.
Wonderful. So, we have a question that as you have a drastic career changes. Okay, can we proceed with the question? One
Yeah,
question we have.
Manik, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So we question as you have a drastic career changes ranging from Marine Navy, Navy to MBA to IT consulting to pursuing in cybersecurity to now you're working in Gen AI. So how you find that? Have you know that previously you would be going in this field and how you drifted from the first job that you have? Why haven't you stayed in Navy itself? And why just align to other roles? And now in future, would you like to proceed with another role?
Okay. So to give a slight context, so before Navy, I cleared a lot of different engineering exams, and I happened to start with chemical engineering. So I started my first phase into HBTI Kanpur, which is like very well known, like I think ranked second in India for chemical engineering. But then I realized this is something I'll get bored very soon. And in fact, any type of engineering, if this is just one type of engineering, I'll get bored very soon. And that struck me that I should actually go for merchant navy or marine engineering, which is like a combination of 14 different fields of engineering, and most of it is like a hands-on. So that is when I prepared for ITJE, gave that examination, cleared that, and despite the good rank that I had, I prefer not going into the mainstream IITs, but into another college, which is Marine Engineering Research Institute, which is affiliated to IITs for this particular purpose. So the two things that was very pertinent to me is like I need a lot of diversity for the whole some development of both my skills and from a cognitive development perspective. I need a lot of different skills to be working and working on them hands on. So that was the first motivation why I came over there. And of course, like when you have that sort of a mindset, even those 14 engineering simultaneously will not hold you. Very soon you will get bored out of it and you will find out avenues. The first thing again that strikes me and that strikes to at least most of the beginners over there is financial independence, and you'll run after the type of roles and the types of jobs that can offer you that sort of a financial independence and security very soon. But later on, when you start exploring within, you will find out that there is something which requires more of a satisfaction and not just a pleasure, because happiness is driven from satisfaction, whereas pleasure is anti to happiness. And that is where you find out things that you purely love and would like to do even if there is no money around. And that is where I found to be into number sciences, mathematics, and a lot of data science specific fields. In fact, that point in time, these terminologies of AI, machine learning, in fact, even data analytics was not there. The only way that you can get into mathematical fields in India was like statistics and statistical departments, and maybe some marketing analytics sort of a thing back then. And I kept pursuing like where I can satisfy those sort of hungers into me, and that kept drifting to me to different types of roles and into different types of data analytics, Gen AI, machine learning. In fact, I was just very starting people who got in touch with the Gen AI. So that time I was into Microsoft research or Microsoft applied research teams, and Microsoft was with an alliance with OpenAI, and I was the founding member of that alliance, representing the security and compliance division into it, and the research for security and compliance division that we were doing. And I think, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, I have also the first few patents from India on GenAI and specifically on GenAI based security. So, with this background, I think the last question that you had is what's coming next. So, the only thing that I know what's coming next is again changes will be permanent. I do not see like where the change will drive me to. That completely depends upon what are the most challenging roles over there where I can add value. But otherwise, I think the change is going to be permanent.
Wonderful. That's amazing. That's amazing. So we have
Uh,
a question from Aditi. Should we be a multitasker or should we be proficient in one thing? As you have experienced a lot of technologies, a lot of roles, and most of the people out there don't find it okay or comfortable because they want to live in their comfort zone. They find it okay. This is the one thing. This is the one job that I'm doing. I'll remain in it like for 5 years or 10 years. So, what do you think? Multitasker versus proficient in one thing?
I think this is the moment where we should take some pause, and I should go through the slides, and then that question and many of the questions that might be coming would be answered on their own. And if there are any questions left, I can take in the last part. Will that be fine?
Wonderful. Yeah, that's perfectly fine, Dr. Mohit.
Yeah, thank you. So, what we are going through in this particular phase, which is causing a lot of anxiety and a lot of different people, job losses, reskilling, upskilling, and everything new, whatever we knew from the past is changing. This is the typical scenario of what is called a revolution. Now, there has been multiple types of revolutions in the past, and what we are seeing is the fourth revolution, to what I understand. The first revolution was, of course, the industrial age, where everything was industrialized, and people lost a lot of jobs because of the industrialization and the automation, assembly lines, production line that is coming. Many humans lost their jobs, and whoever remained started getting into the disparity of income. People who got industrialized got become very rich. People who couldn't actually get into that particular regime became poor. And slowly, we saw that new skills came up, which became a great parity organizers, where a lot of knowledge work started happening into focus towards engineering. And that was also the engineering age. So industrial age brought to life what we know engineering in different forms as of today. Then came the computer age revolution, in which everything that was based upon just industries, core engineering, hands-on engineering, those change, and we came into the digital age, where now everything could be automated to a large extent. And then I think many of the people who are here seeing this YouTube live would can familiarize themselves with the internet age, where internet came, and then again there was a lot of hue and cry that many people will lost job. For example, earlier when movies used to be published and Netflix used to send those CDs, DVDs to the people, hundreds and thousands of people were just employed just to take over those CDs and deliver it somewhere, and then to get revenues and all of those things. The moment Netflix became digital, all of those jobs were lost. And this is a trend that we are seeing in not just the media publishing houses, but across all the industries. In fact, the whole IT ecosystem that we have in India and the exports that we have in India is based upon this internet age, where earlier it started with the cost arbitrage that a particular software has to be maintained or IT services has to be delivered or consulting services has to be delivered. Because of this internet age, work that is spawning from the Western countries, US, Europe, or other countries which require it, can get very highly skilled manpower from India. And slowly, that cost arbitrage became a skill arbitrage, where people in India were considered more tech savvy, more mathematical savvy, more system savvies and coding savvies, and a lot of different ecosystems start developing in India. And this is what we are reaping the fruits of. So where all the other engineering streams combined just offer like a minute percentage of the whole workforce, a lot of aspiring new comers into this field would like to do get into the software industry, despite the fact they have done electronics, electrical, or any sort of an engineering, even mechanical engineering. That is the way that they envision that the role is going to be in a software industry somewhere, or a consulting industry somewhere, which are all based upon the internet age. And the common things across all of these revolutions is this: that whenever a new revolution will come, there will be three things happening. One, there will be massive job losses because that new revolution will bring a lot of productivity gains with it. And with every revolution that we are seeing, that productivity gain has been exponential in terms of the previous revolution. So, for example, the productivity gains that we are seeing from internet age, and the time that it took to take that productivity to this particular level, maybe it's the last 10, 15 years has been the internet age. The AI age will actually just cover this entire realm in 3 to 5 years. And the same thing happened from the computer age to the internet age. Computer age was around the last 30 years. The industrial age was like 50 to 60 years, and so on and so forth. So, number one, the speed at which that revolution will actually impact both the jobs and the skill set differences is going to be much, much smaller. That will be much more compressed, and that will be much more pronounced in terms of the impact. So, number one, the timeline will shorten, the impact will become more. And what will happen will be threefold. Number one, there will be a lot of job losses because there are a lot of productivity gains. There'll be a lot of requirements for existing people who are in the job to become more productive, either start doing uh, creating products or productivity or value which was equivalent to 3 4 people back before that particular revolution. Of course, with the invent of the new technology and the new revolution that is happening, using that to increase the productivity, say between 2 to 10x, and that will also grow with each revolution. So for the industrial revolution, it was like 10 to 20 workers that got times the workers that got down, and so on and so forth. And that is true what we are seeing, we'll be seeing in AI also. The second phase or the third part would be there'll be new types of jobs will be coming up, but that takes time. That takes time for the industry to see what is the new types of revolution that can be happening. And then we'll see, like, again, the same size of workforce that was there earlier. Now we have a similar size of workforce, but the type of work that that workforce do will be very, very different from the earlier age of revolutions. And then we'll see seeing that people who are still doing the same type of work that was there in earlier revolution, but maybe at a higher productivity level, they will start feeling the heat, or in terms of the pressure or the salary drops and other things. And these new age jobs and the new age roles will actually take a larger portion of the salary hikes or the value hike that they can claim. So this three themes has been common in all the sort of revolutions, and this will happen in AI revolution as well, except for the fact that I see, and this is my opinionated part, that AI revolution will not happen in one phase; it will happen actually in two phases. The first phase is what we are already going through now, which is a pre-AGI or pre-ASI era. AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence, which says that a robot or a AI can do all the type of work that a human can do, almost at the same level, both cognitive level and thinking level that a human do. ASI is one step beyond, which says that not only it will be able to do all the things that a human do, and we are talking about a single thinking algorithm. We are not talking about 10 algorithms doing 10 different things that a human do. That part is what AGI, that you can create a brain which can be as versatile as a human and can be as performant as that of our average humans in all the types of things that a human can do. That is AGI. But if we can come up with new types of thinkings, new types of developments and new types of technologies that humans cannot even compete with, or humans might not even have thought about that this is possible, that will be the era of artificial superintelligence or ASI. I have two talks. This talks mostly focus about the pre-ASI age, which is now, and the revolution that is happening now. And then maybe in some other talk we'll be talking about the post-ASI age and what are the things that might happen over there. And second talk will be completely opinionated because no one knows what is going to be there. But based upon some researchers and based upon some knowledge of what companies are doing and what they have published, that talk will be based upon that. Okay, so let's come to the first and the second trends that we saw in any revolution. So remember, we talked about three trends. One is there will be a lot of job losses of the existing types. The second trend is whatever remains of those job for the time, they will become highly productive, and those people will remain in the industry. They will become very competitive. And to some extent, they will also start earning more than what they are earning today. And then the third phase would be there'll be new types of roles that will coming up. So the initial part of this talk will be about the first two shifts, and then the later part will be about the third shift that we should actually go into. So let's cover the first part of the wave. Okay, the first part of the wave is that there will be a lot of anxieties, there will be a lot of fears, and there will be actual job losses of the type of roles that exist today. So there has been a very recent, you can say, survey, and Microsoft published, I think, this week or the last week, and this is as recent as this last week. So they asked a lot of different questions to a lot of different representative Indian IT professionals, both software and service industries across the different cities in India, not just a couple of cities. And they found out that at least 74% of the people believe, not just think, but they believe that AI will replace their job. Okay, and then of course that survey was based upon a lot of different things: what type of things that you do, how much AI has penetrated into it, what are the things that AI can do better versus what are the things that you think AI will do better than you then in the coming years. And then there was the final question of, are you worried that AI will replace your job? So three-fourths of the people actually believes that AI will replace their current job. Okay. Then the second question, which was an important one, was, do you have the right skills for growth in this age of AI? And even more people, even some of them who believe that their job will not be completely lost, they believe they do not have the right skill to keep surviving in this age of AI. Okay. Then we come to the second part of the wave where we say like there'll be people who will exist in this era and they will actually learn how to use the new technologies to improve their productivity and the value that they bring many times. So much so that they will be valued in this particular age because of how they have actually started learning or how they can implement those things and apply it to their functions and grow their function, their productivity in these particular things. So the same questionnaire, when it was asked like mastering AI skills will accelerate your career, 94% person believe that yes, this is the entire population. And this is like Indian population, Indian IT population. And that has like all the levels. This is not just an entry level. people even at the highest levels, each levels believe that AI skills will accelerate their career. Then, will you hire a less experienced candidate with a strong AI skills? This question was specifically to the HRs and the people, job managers who roll out those particular jobs. 80% of the Indian leaders believe that even if the core function for which the job is being rolled out, the person doesn't know that to the extent that is required, but they have the right AI skills to implement at that particular function and to grow into that function. They're ready to hire 80% into that. 80% of people are ready to hire those type of people, right? Then the third question was, how often do you see generative AI tools? How often do you use generative AI tools? And this is a very good sign. People in India, and this is like Indian statistics, most of the people, right from the entry level to even students or the highest level, they have to some extent or the other being the user of GenAI. And this is precisely the point why the AI revolution is going to be much, much different and much, much more exponential in impact than the previous generations. In all the previous generations, one thing that was observed was there will be a very niche set of people who would be the developers of that particular technology and the workers of those particular technology. So for example, in industrial age, there'll be type of companies, heavy industry, heavy engineering companies like what we have in the form of L&T or BEML, those sort of things, who will be making those machineries. And then there'll be type of people who will be training the people or workers on that particular machinery, how they work. Then there will be MROs, which is the repair, uh, and the overall companies that will be benefiting from that. Similarly, in the computer age and the internet age, there are like large internet companies. You can say Mang companies, or the Googles, Microsoft, Amazons of the world, or Metas of the world, that has actually created dominance because they knew how to use that technology to their advantage, and they are using it. Then the people that they hired and the people who work over there, you can say like those are the core niche people who knows how to make the best use of those particular technologies. And then that percolated down to GCCs and other companies who start using the internet and created similar softwares and similar technologies that are for different types of applications that suits their particular domain. This is very different from what the Gen AI or the AI era and the AI revolution is going to be, in which every user, now we are not talking about the professionals, but we are talking about the users. Every user know at least how to open a chat GPT or a Gemini or any sort of a portal on their app or on the mobile or on their website and put a basic prompt and use it. Okay, to the point that we are now seeing even many of the searches getting replaced by AI modes, and many of the search companies, predominant search companies, are betting big more on the AI mode of searches. And people are also using this. They are asking questions not just about the trivial AI, the normal searches that they were doing, but they are getting deeper into what they want to know. So, for example, now if I have a medical contingency, not in sort of an emergency, but any medical conditions, before even going to a doctor, I'll first try to scan it myself. And one way was that I would go to a search engine, but that would take me multiple hours. And I, being a researcher, I would then research about research papers on my medical condition, what I'm facing, and the symptoms that I'll be facing. And then I'll be going to a doctor. But now, for me, that phase is now shortened because of I can go into an AI mode and I can do that. This is just one example, but for each and every professional, each and every user, we are seeing this has been democratized. But the problem over here is this has been democratized to the level of prompt engineering and people using AI to put prompts and getting answers out of it. So of course, this is not someone would pay you for. So any type of a role where you just know how to use a Gen AI is not going to serve you as good as what earlier revolutions and the users of the earlier revolutions would have actually gone through. Here you require a lot more to actually get to a position where you can add enough value to your roles or job functions or to core AI functions that you can start earning from it. Okay, so putting this more into perspective, so I think for the top 3 4 companies we already know, and there has been some Indian entrenchment also, but larger outside of India, and there has been precisely good reasons out of it. But if you see all of this, in fact, I think TCS news everyone knows that has been more recent. So all of this content to what I am presenting is mostly very recent up till the last week. There has been some surveys which are dated 2024 also, wherever the context needs to be provided, but most of the figures are recent. And when these companies are being asked, they give different types of reasons what has led to that retrenchment. Okay, some says it is skill mismatch, some says it is a strategic reorg that we have gone through. But everything, if you try to read between the lines, all of them has precisely for the same reason, and that same reason is the two waves that we were talking about. The first wave is that we need to gear ourselves for the new revolution, the AI revolution. Okay, now what will happen when you are trying to do that? First of all, you will try to tell to your employees very implicitly or explicitly that this is our vision, this is our mission, and this is where we are going to get business from. And in every revolution, there will be people who couldn't change themselves at the speed at which the revolution is coming. And for this particular revolution, and for every revolution, it has been exponential. So the time limit has squeezed in what it can allow you to change. And this AI revolution is a double exponential to what I just explained. So the time it will require for that particular change has even cut short. Now companies will run out of money if they do not change very fast. And even the new money is going to come only from those areas which are made by this new revolution. So every company will give their employees, the existing employees, some chance to reskill themselves. Now, depending upon what neuroplasticity is remaining in them. So neuroplasticity is a concept where your brain can learn new types of skills. They can see what is coming and what is how they can fit into those particular things, and they can change the way that they think about it, and they can grasp the new demands of the new technologies that comes over there. So depending upon that, some will be able to change, some will not be able to change. Some will get an opportunity in which they can get an influence and get to a team where they have a better opportunities to learn it. Some will have to learn it on their free times or consume even their family times into learning all of those things. Some may succeed, some may not succeed. And this is what the underlying message is, that it will lead to a skill mismatch, which means that we require these type of skills. The other type of previous generation skills, mostly those would be either automated, or there will be a one person who can increase their productivity by learning the new skills as much that they can actually drive the work of 10 different people or 4 different people at a much better quality than it was with those 10 people, with also the overheads remove of managing those 10 people, because for one person you don't need any overhead to manage, right? And with this happening, you can again call it as a skill mismatch. That the previous skills they have not upgraded to doing, or the productivity is not matched with the new things, and so they have to be either let go or given some opportunity to actually hold off their salaries till they actually come to that level of productivity. Now, for someone who is learning those skills and they are able to take the productivity to say 4x, 5x, or 10x, someone who is not learning those skills at that particular pace, or if they require longer time to do that, of course, if you're comparing the productivity, you cannot justify offering the same salaries to the previous generation. So this is the another sort of a shift, the first shift and the second shift that we are seeing. We have not come to the third shift, we'll go to the later. Okay. So now let's coming and zero down on the second shift. What it takes for you to actually be relevant in this particular age, even if you are trying to be to do some work in the same personas that you are targeting. So what we are seeing the shift is, assume for each of these roles an entry level role. Suppose you got your internship done and you're getting into an industry in one of these roles, right? Envision what you'll be doing 8 to 12 or 15 years down the line. So, for example, if there's a software developer who has entered, he will not remain a core software developer which is just doing coding after 8 years or after 12 years or after 15 years. He will still be a software. He might still be a software developer. From SD1, he will become SD2, SD3. Maybe he'll become a tech lead. But what are the added responsibilities that he'll take? Maybe the load of he actually doing coding will come down. What will increase is his side of the technology, what is possible, the speed at which he convince others in terms of what is good architecture, what is a bad architecture, and then implementing those architectures themselves. Not just one piece of code, but where that piece of code actually lies in the whole architecture. What is the final value that they are being delivered to the product and hence to the company to which the product is. Everything will happen this way, but the whole life cycle will shrink. So instead of that 10 years, right from the day one when you join the company, this will be the expectations from you. You might not be required to say code so effectively, so efficiently, because that role is already done by AI. No matter how much you try to compete with AI, you will not be able to do that. But it requires you to tell to AI what needs to be built. Now, you may argue that AI also can do a better design than a human today. And if not today, maybe next year it will be able to do a better design. But what will be still missing is the holistic perspective that a human can bring with the collaborations and with the discussions with other teams and other value propositions that that piece of code needs to bring. Right? So, product manager working with all the teams versus a tech lead, a highly experienced tech lead working with all the teams are two different perspectives. Okay, a tech lead is start thinking in terms of the technology that they have to bring, how the technology will be used, how it should be architected, what will be the different components, what will be different blocks, and then how the whole code will look like. Now, this 10, 12 years of journey, suppose as you come out of the college you have to do, or maybe after 1 or 2 years of experience you have to do, these are the skills that will be requiring the more. Okay, whereas the lower value proposition skills and value proposition is just in terms of the experiences currently that people do, what you were doing in 3 years of experience or what you were doing in 5 years of experience or 3 years of experience. You might be just writing some single scripts for the small part of the code. Someone will be writing the integration part of the code at 5 years of experience and so on and so forth. All of these work will be done by AI in some minutes, not even hours, maybe in minutes, which means now you have to do a rapid prototyping of even your thinking and what do you need to get done, right? And you can take that same analogy in all the roles that we have. So this is what I took an example of a software developer and spoke about it. But if you take the example of a QA QC engineer, what they do now, earlier they used to do a manual testing sort of a thing. They used to think about the test cases, they used to design the test cases, and they used to execute it. Then came test automation. You have the test automation suite, whether it's in Python or any sort of a test automation language and platform they used to do. They used to devise the use cases. Some use cases might be there coded. These tools may also help you identify borderline conditions, and then you will run that particular tool. You will see the results, and then you'll come back and do that. In the coming age, or what has already come, and many of the larger software companies are already using it, and that will percolate down to all the GCCs, all the software developers, all the service industries, is even AI in test automation, which means once you've written the code, today, what we believe, even in our companies, the bigger companies, Google's and the Microsoft, we believe that AI can do a much better job of writing test cases and identifying borderline conditions than a human can do. And that is now with the policy that we have is that test cases also, besides the one that we are submitting, AI should also be asked to submit the test cases and write new test cases that might have been missed out. So this is like a Gen AI driven test things, and then we'll see all the other roles where the masses are there in India, which is the analyst roles, the consultant roles, and the IT support system admin. All of these roles will not remain what we had envisioned as of now, and what people have been telling you they have been doing since the last 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. This will not be the roadmap for you at all. By the time you will enter the industry, or if you have already entered the industry within say 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, this all will change. But it will be changing in the directions that what people used to be doing in 10 years or 15 years of experience into those particular roles, that will be expected to do in 1.5, 2 years of experience. So this is what we are calling the second shift. The first shift was, of course, the job losses, which is something that is already rampant. This is the second shift that is we are going through now. Okay, and this will actually take us to the next 1.5, 2 or 3 years, depending upon the type of company that you are. Each company will not adopt the technology, or each domain will not adopt the technology at the same pace. So you still have like 1.5 to 2 to 3 years, depending upon where you are and what type of companies that you're envisioning to for this type of a shift to be completed. Okay, so now we see the good pictures. We are seeing that job losses are there. It's not because the companies are in losses, but there has been reallocation of that money into different roles. And most of them are GenAI driven roles. And when I say GenAI driven roles, it might not only be the people who are developing the GenAI or people who are researching on the GenAI, but it's also about people who are applying or implementing GenAI to specific domains or specific problems, and maybe making products or services out of those particular things. So each of these companies has allocated billions and billions of dollars. In fact, the total outgo up till now, even to GenAI alone, has been trillions of dollars in setting up the data centers, and then the expenditures into the making of those models, and then making the systems and the infrastructure around those models, the cloud uh, applications that can assist those models, and the ecosystems of applications and the frameworks that can use those models into different ways. There's been already trillions of outgo into that, and more, and hundreds of billions will happen more. So, and even from an India perspective, although we are expecting a lot of different Indian students and young professionals over there, there's a lot of opportunities. India has come up with the India AI mission. India AI mission has 7 pillars. Okay, the first pillar is about the compute, which is we should have a sovereign compute. The second pillar is about a sovereign India AI model, which is the RFPs of that has already been completed, and awards have been assigned to companies that will be making models which are more specific to Indian languages, Indian culture, and so on and so forth. But one important pillar of the India AI mission, which is more relevant to the audience that we have today, is on upskilling. Okay, that upskilling actually is happening in two different phases. So one upskilling is with a research tie-ups, in which all the researchers that are there will be given some sort of a grants or some sort of a added incentives to research on GenAI. But the larger sort of a skilling mission is on the professionals, working professionals, and people who can actually use GenAI, can upskill themselves in GenAI to adopt into the second phase that we, or second shift that we're talking about, where they can start using GenAI to increase the productivity in whatever roles they want to do. In fact, this was like a central mission, but missions like this is now coming at each state level also. Now, I know about for sure about Telangana. They are coming up with it. Karnataka is thinking about coming off it. UP has come out of it, and the quantum that UP has actually put into the AI city is much more even than the India AI mission. Or at least the promises are much more than the India AI mission. So now we are seeing states also getting waking up that we have a large population to support, and we have to be not just surviving but thriving in this new age revolution that is going to come. We missed the previous three revolutions. We were a laggard over there to some extent. Now the internet revolution we have caught up to, and now we are considered as like a greatest workforce complete in one single country for that internet revolution. But we want to be ahead in this Gen AI or AI revolution, and that is what at least some of the states has risen up to do along with the center. So now we'll talk about the third shift, which is the new types of roles that will come up because of this Gen AI that either didn't exist today or yesterday, or didn't exist in the form that is required over there, right? So first is, if you want to get into this now, one thing that will be happening, especially in the initial phase, there will be a research and development combined ecosystems, which means that till you do not have working on very cutting edge sort of algorithms, cutting edge sort of a frameworks, it will be very hard for you to keep pace with the skill sets or the even applied skill sets that you may need to do that. For example, now even in terms of the framework, we saw like earlier there were only just prompt engineering, then prompt engineering with the frameworks like LangChain came, then we have like agentic frameworks like LangGraph or and others. And now all the cloud players, including Google, is coming up with a complete set of multiple agentic frameworks, which is a low code, no code sort of a framework, like ADK, development toolkit, or code assist, or all the sort of a thing in which you can make these agents very, very fast. And this has come up with a new sort of things, not just for the technical people. Of course, for technical people, you do not require no code, but at least low code and rapid development of code sort of technologies with these type of frameworks that we just talk about, whether it's a rack framework or agentic frameworks and other things. But even for the non coders or non-technical software people, which is the business functional people, they will not be untouched. And we have already started seeing. When I talk to my friends who are into marketing or in sales or in management, they are facing a lot of pressure. Some of them who were either lost their jobs. They say that it is difficult to find new jobs with the same skill sets, still they do not upgrade to the new GenAI skill sets. Some would have already started enrolling into different types of upskilling networks to get a good position over there. And that is a theme that I see in all the non-functional roles also. And these non-functional roles also has to upgrade themselves with these now. They need not go into the level of how do you create an agent sort of a thing, but they should be aware that they are no code or low code sort of a technologies with them. They can increase the productivity of their roles, and they can do many new types of things that way they couldn't do earlier, or for which a whole team was required to do those sort of things earlier. For example, assume sales and marketing. Or to be more focused, let's talk about marketing. Till now, or till last year, the greatest buzzword in marketing was digital marketing and SEO optimizations. Which what is that is like earlier we used to have, like if you go on the roads, you used to have all the placards, banners, and everything. Now people are seeing, and you should have like newspaper ads and other things. People found limited usability or conversion rate from that, or the attribution was not so clear. So people moved to something called digital marketing, where you have like a place ads on Facebook's, Metas, or Google searches of the world, and you will bid for that ad, and that in microseconds, milliseconds, that bid will be matched, and depending upon who is the person, and you will have many of the data that you can do have to target each and every very specific person, or a community of person, or a geography of person, or demography of person, and then you can see much better outcome of the money that you have put into your or ROI of the money that you have put into it. This was the era of digital marketing. Now this is also stale. Now this whole sort of a business of how people interact with the web and the information that is required from the web is changing. Now everything is getting into the AI search mode that I explained to you earlier, and that trend is going to go forward. Or the whole concept of you going onto a website or an app to do or to find out that the particular information is going to go away, because most of these things will be taken over by agents. So you'll tell the agent what you want, and agent will do all the things on your behalf. If agent is going to do all the things on your behalf, then the scope of showing you an ad on Facebook, Insta, Google searches, or even on Amazon or Flipkart, that if you're going, you get those recommended or sponsored products, all that scope is gone now, which means that a new form of marketing has to come, which is more aligned to this agentic world or a AI mode search world. And that is where more jobs will be actually coming up in these particular areas. But I expanded this one particular example, but you can put this example into any of those things. The financial part, the legal part, in fact, many of these things which were seen and ought to be protected, for example, medical and legal were protected, irrespective of how many robots that you actually apply, what is the state of those robots, even if they are ahead of humans. And now, last month, if you see, Microsoft has claimed that their AI is much better than any of the human in diagnosing all of these diseases. But these are protected sort of a things. So even if you are using AI to do any sort of a diagnosis, even if you're using AI to make any case dossiers, it has to be finally a lawyer who would argue that case using that dossier. It has to be finally a doctor who has to sign on that particular prescription, right? But even in these particular cases, what we'll be seeing is if they require a team of like 20 different doctors for a particular diagnosis, now since most of the diagnosis could be done by AI in a much better or much accurate form, you just need one particular doctor to review it and sign it. The same for the legal systems as well, right? So This being protected versus not being protected is not being the precursor of how much it will impact in terms of the productivity on those things, and then how much pressure it will come to people who do not upgrade, and how much lucrative it will be for people who can upgrade. Okay. Now, these don't go by the numbers, these numbers will change, but these are like from the common job searches as exist till last week. Many people, companies are hiring, and the hiring salaries are quite handsome. But the only thing is, there are not many roles in the previous or the current set of things that you were expecting to do that exists today. And it's mostly about the AI proficiency and the new age AI proficiency that is there. And the salaries of them are much higher than what we would have expected for the same profile earlier. So it's not about everything is gloomy, everything is job losses. There are new jobs being created. Those new jobs definitely require new type of a skill set, and they can offer like much better salaries also. And we are seeing hundreds of billions of dollars being coming into this new age technologies. But what skills might be required if you go by the JDs today? Those JDs are very general. For example, now hey, there is also something called a prompt engineer, right? And I explained that everyone in this world today, if they can actually open an app, Gemini, ChatGPT on their mobile, they are a prompt engineer. So no one is going to pay you for that sort of a work. But here, prompt engineering means something like a vibe coding sort of a thing. You can do some sort of a prompt engineering to create an application or an apply a particular application to your work, which can produce value out of it in much shorter time, much lesser time to GTM than was expected in previous generations. Okay, so the better picture and how it looks like if you come out of the previous fears of jobs getting lost is today we are seeing a salary premium of 28% net for the people who are employable, right? And we discuss what is employable in this particular condition. From an Indian context, of course, we are considered as a very good, we have a very good positioning in the world. There are a lot of people who can actually do a very good job for using GenAI because they have a systems view. Now, how we are bred up, the whole everyone who gets into engineering, whether it's mechanical engineering or what sort of engineering it is, they take a systems view that we have to apply this knowledge somewhere, right? And down the line, 8 year 10 years we will be doing this irrespective of whether I enter the market as a, say a front end developer or a UX researcher or just a JavaScript developer. I'll not remain that. Later on, 8 years and years down the line, I will design the whole applications for something like a Flipkart or Amazon or the whole things that they run today. The only thing is that is not 8 years 10 years down the line. Okay, this will shift. But India already has got that perception that the engineers that have come out from India, although it takes time for them to actually get to that particular level, but they can think of a systems design view. Then the average Indian salary is also very high now as compared to the previous things. And most of these things is because of the internet revolution that has happened, because of which, irrespective of where the job is getting spawned, you can do that job from India. Okay, so many of these things are dollar converted to Indian salaries, but you'll see like a lot of this will be a great levelizer of things. So you can see the ranges also are now increasing for software developer versus data analyst and QA test engineers. So those eras where truckloads of people will be hired for absolutely a very low level of skills, mostly working as either I won't say data entry sort of a thing, but data entry plus sort of a roles, or for very low level consulting sort of a role. Most of these things might either go or they might remain in very small numbers, because those are the things that could be easily done by AI. So those days that you were seeing that truckloads of people were actually recruited from the universities, they might not last very long. But what you're seeing is value added things, value added roles, even at the starting level, will actually rise. And the third wave, which is about the new skills, new roles, that was going to high rise very soon. So what you need to do to build a high impact profile for yourself, because now those days will be gone where you'll be just seen from which department you are, what is your CGPA, you'll be asked one simple question, and you just answer it, you are in, right? So it will be all about you demonstrating that you are ready for the AI age. And how that demonstration will come is, first of all, start building your brand. So if you are into technical role, the easiest way for you to build your brand is have a Git repo, make different types of apps on Git repo. Doesn't matter whether you use vibe coding. In fact, you should use it to make very high impact apps at a very small time. But you should be able to explain what is going inside it, right? If you are from a non-technical background, start using GenAI to make no code, low code sort of an agents for your particular function, and start improving your workflows from this function. And also, if it's not a Git repo, but have your portfolio. Every profession will have a portfolio sort of a design. Put in that, how do you solve this particular problem in very less time with a complete end-to-end approach using all of these agents framework, correct? And the best thing for you to get started is now most of the companies have started giving you free tools, free trainings for you to upskill. Okay. I'm from Google, so I'm putting a lot of different GCP links. But if you try to find out similar trainings from other sources, deeplearning.ai, I think Azure will also have some of the skills. You are free to get to wherever, but these are the minimal skills that you would require for barring one or two, which is mostly for technical people. Even for non-technical people, marketing, finance, operations, these are the things that you should know. Many of these things will have both of the variants. It will have a full code variant, it will have a low code variant, and many of these things will also have a no code variant. So at least a non-functional or non-technical people will should also try the no code, and to be more efficient, the low code ones. Now, I think low code will actually shine a lot in the coming generation, and because that will set apart the salary gap to a lot extent. So even if it's a non-technical person, they can get into low code, very minimal sort of a code, sort of a thing. They can increase their value proposition much more because no code will become commoditized. So all of these things, what we are telling, there is a no code, or many of these things will have a no code variant, and every professional will actually very soon, within the next 3, 6, 9 months, whoever wants to survive in this era will get to no code. And then the differentiation after an year or maybe 9 months will be who can also do a low code in their non-technical roles. And for technical roles, of course, this is like a bare minimum necessity that you should get into a coding based variant also of all of these technologies. So the first thing that you should do is learn how do you fine tune a model for a specific task, correct? Earlier you required a data scientist to make a classifier for you, right? So if I want to do a credit risk default, I want to actually make a portfolio management sort of a thing, or for even technical roles, if I want to do some sort of a outage protection and so on and so forth. Earlier you need a lot of data set for it, and you need a data scientist or any sort of a technical person to put that data into a format that can be read by a model, and then apply a particular model, train it, and then see what is the evaluation scores, and then actually put that model into deployment. That deployment in itself was such a task that many of the, at least the erstwhile service companies, found it difficult, and mostly the software companies and the good DevOps company could only do a model deployment at scale. And that is what brought to your software as a service or ML as a service sort of a concept. But now most of these things are changing. Even a person with very little experience, a functional person who had just have some 20, 30, 40 lines of data that they would have already created on their own experience of what it takes to be a positive use case or negative use case, can take those 20, 30 samples of data and can fine tune a model, that a GenAI model, not a conventional model, but a GenAI model, and they can actually start giving you the responses in real time. So with no code, I've just made 40 lines of data in an Excel or CSV. I've given it to the model. And that model is now giving me predictions. No deployment required, no nothing required. Everything is on the cloud without any single line of code that has to be written for it. Similarly, building a multimodal application, that is the new shift that we are seeing. Up till the last, I think, 6, 9 months, we were talking about LLMs, which is large language models. Nowadays, we don't refer to that terminology. We refer to the terminology of GenAI because a lot of applications that we see, especially for a country like India, where people are more fluent talking than actually typing. And many of the people are not even literate enough to type, but they have a mobile phone and they know just how to press the mic button on that mobile phone in any app. And that is where for both India and if you're building for the world, these multimodal applications which can consume video, which can consume audio, which can consume images, are going to be the next step forward. Okay. And the third thing, which is going to revolutionize everything, which has already started revolutionizing everything, is agentic workflows. Whether those agents are interconnected in a pure latent agentic workflows or something of a sort of an MCP server, which is a model context protocol server in which people can have their agents. For example, I am a company, suppose I make my trip, right? And I need that I should be able to survive and thrive in the new AI era. Now I know that less and less people will be going to my website to find out the best flights, the best hotels, and my business is going to drop down. So what I will do to fight this sort of a thing is I'll make an MCP server of my services, which means now this MCP server can be integrated inside any agent. So if I'm making an agent, I just need to call, I just need to instantiate an MCP server into my agent. Okay. And if that MCP server is suppose from Make My Trip, the moment I'm searching for anything, okay, I'm thinking I should go for a vacation. Do you think it is the right time to go for a vacation? And where should I go? Now, if it knows that I already have a travel agent's MCP server, the travel agent can be Make My Trip, that can be Agoda or anything. Automatically agent will recognize that to answer this query I need not do a general web search, I did not do an extensive thinking on my own, but I can use that plugged in MCP server and I can give those queries to it and I can get a response from it, and using that response I will bring it to my memory, and then I'll start thinking whether it's a good response for the user and the question that he has asked me to do or not. Which means that all of the businesses, if they want to thrive in the agentic age, they also have to convert into an agent, and they have to offer that agent into a ready pluggable manner such that anyone who is making an agent, their agent can talk with the customer's agent. And this is where all of these MCPs and other standardized form of agentic workflows will come. Then irrespective of any company that you are in, now RAG is becoming very popular, which means currently if you see, if you have a Gemini or uh, OpenAI sort of a system, they already have a button in which you can upload files, 3 4 5 files into it. That is not a true RAG system, right? That just ingests the document and the entire document's text comes into the context of the LLM. That is where it is very important to understand what is the context, input context size of your LLM. The more the input context size, the more documents you can put this way. But if you're talking about an enterprise level, right? Irrespective of the context of the large language model. So currently we have 1 million and 2 million token size of content, but that will also fall short if you are talking about a complete enterprise documents. So what has to be done is that these documents has to be converted into embeddings. These embeddings has to be stored somewhere such that in real time, whenever you ask a question, a corresponding answer where it can lie, those documents, fewer documents can be searched and put into the agent's memory, and then onwards it will perform as you have actually uploaded files into a Gemini or a chat GPT. Okay, that is called a RAG system. And what we are seeing is the event of new types of roles is into responsible AI. So erstwhile systems were very deterministic. Even the ML models that were there, although it's a wrong word to call them deterministic, but you of course know what you are training them with and what is the type of responses that it will generate. With the paradigm of the autonomy that is provided with the agents and with the GenAI that has happened, it is thinking on its own, it is giving you the solutions, and you, without even checking the authenticity of it, are following those particular type of solutions. It becomes very important that you ensure that your LLMs are responsible, they are not hallucinating, they are safe, they are secure. And a lot of jobs and a lot of different types of new roles are coming into the responsible AI framework of it. Okay. With that, I will end my talk. There are two QR codes. The first QR code is my LinkedIn profile. So please add me, follow me. And the second QR code is on a responsible generative AI newsletter that I publish almost weekly or bi-weekly. That gives you a lot of insights about what is happening into the world of AI, how it will impact the society, the work culture, or different types of harms and the good things that are about those particular GenAI things. With this, I will end my presentation. And if there are any questions, I can take them now. Let me see how much time we have around. Yeah. We are up the time, but I'll still wait for some questions.
No issues, sir. Actually, as we work for time, and we do have some pre-questions that I have asked previously from community members who want to ask something from you, those who are not able to meet. Not taking much time, I'll ask only two questions because we are for time. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, I need to say that the knowledge that you have transferred is like really insightful. You have covered it all. Like, will AI replace all the jobs? The top trending question that all the students have in universities, and how we should keep up with the AI trend, how we can upskill, what we can do, how we can make our portfolio standard, and all the tips and tricks that we should use at this time at the initial level of our career, which will really help us later on in future. Now that will help a lot of students, this presentation of yours. So thank you so much for sharing all the insights and knowledge that you have shared today with us. And with this, I wanted to ask that specifically for the students that in college nowadays, what is the trend is that uh, everybody is looking after DSA. Although DSA, web development, and although if someone is interested in AI, so the teachers of no comments but still in most of the tier 3 colleges or tier 2 colleges, the teacher said DSA is important if you want to sit on campus placements. Now what the students will fear, okay, they want placements because they come from a middle class family. And as the teacher said that for getting on campus placements, even in the AI role, you have to learn DSA. And also, but I want to ask that is DSA is important if we want to get into AI research or any role related to AI? And if not, then why? Then what do you think that these colleges, like teachers, tell their students that to sit in the on-campus placements, they have to learn DSA? If not, then whether the students should focus on-campus placements or off-campus placements by building their skills so that they can apply directly to the company.
Okay, so this is, I think, the burning nerve for every engineer. DSA is not
Yes,
just something compulsory, but it is like a core course. Without doing
yes,
DSA, you cannot even go to the next level. I would not here take the proxy of what is the Indian education system. I think a lot has to be changed. And in my previous role, when I was into NVIDIA, I started a lot of different initiatives. How do I change the entire Indian ecosystem, especially the AI courses in India? Of course, now I'm not into that particular role. I'm working more as a researcher, but I will not base my understanding on what is the Indian education system, because that needs to be changed. But to be more specific on your questions on DSA, even a company like Google, when it is taking even the most senior person, so I am like at a staff software engineer. Even in my interview, there has to be a coding round, and one of the coding rounds at least will be very heavy on DSA. And some of these things are proxy to what you can think and how you can think and how you execute everything. Okay? You can get to a level where you can code very well, right? And in nowadays, I just need an AI to actually code for me, right? But what is my hold on those data structures and algorithms? And if I can think very fast, and what type of problem is there, and to solve this type of problem, what should be the design? And for this particular design, if I'm making a class or making an object, what should be the algorithms or the data structures that I need for those things? That gives very implicit sort of a signals on how this person thinks about system designs and the knowledge of it. So although there might be some of the data structures that I might never use in my actual work at the coding, but the questions that is asked to me and how do I approach it in terms of the efficiency that this data structure has, this sort of an efficiency challenges versus this has some sort of a speed challenges versus this has some implementation challenges versus this has the complexity challenges. What decisions I make taking, and how do I explain those decisions? And on the basis of those constraints, how do I choose a right data structure algorithms? doesn't tell us about how much I know about those data structures and algorithms, but how do I think about a technical problem. And there's no better way to do that. And there are ways to do that, but then it will take a lot of different multiple types of rounds and so on and so forth to do. Whereas DSA is something like, since every engineer is supposed to know even at the core level, you can say that it's an unbiased sort of a thing. And that has been now propagated since companies consider this unbiased and they are going to ask it. So now the education also institutes has to teach that, right? So it's a chain of things of how do you evaluate people and how do you assess them on how technically they can think and how many constraints they can marry at a given particular problem that they are trying to tackle.
Wonderful. This could be the most subtle question that subtle answer of the question that we have. That is quite every student should see about, because most of the students that are in AI and ML think, okay, we are supposed to learn, but why do we need DSA? And you have covered it pretty nicely. Thank you so much. And as most of the audience is college students, so I want to ask, according to you, what kind of mindset a college student should have, which will help them to grow rapidly in this field, like any experience or your mindset that you would like to quote here of being a college student back then, because the era
Okay.
is changing really quickly.
I think that might be the wrong comparison, because in my days, people didn't used to think themselves as privileged, right? Everyone knew that there is a challenge, and if they do not perform well, there's a rare shortage of the jobs in the market, right? And whatever we used to do, we used to give our 100% into it. Now there's a culture, okay, the Indian jobs scenarios is pretty good as compared to the previous times. And even if I am not in the top 5, top 10, there will be companies who take truckloads of people, and I might be lucky enough to get into that those truckloads of people. This mindset needs to be changed, and that is also I covered into some of my slides. How do you need to change a mindset? Might not be a last year, it might not be a third year, but right the way that you enter into engineering, from your knowledge what is there, try to create something of value. The more you create, the better you will become, the more quality you will get into your work, and at the end, during your placements and during your internships, that is your quality which will make your brand.
Wonderful. And we have the last question, as what advice you would like to give all the girls who is watching this video who wanted to have a career in AI, ML, or deep learning that will help them in their career and build confidence, specifically to the girls that are watching?
Okay, so for the girls who are watching, this is a very good time to come into the industry. So we are into the cusp of things where that gender differentiation, I won't say is completely over, but it's close to be over. And whenever you are on the cusp of a revelation, all of these other issues which could have created biases are downplayed to such a large extent that the only thing that will shine is how well do you cope up to that new revolution, right? So earlier, if everything remains equal, say gender inequality was around 10-15% or 20% of it, now 90% of the thing would be how proficient you are into the new requirements of the new revolution. And we are already seeing that, irrespective of which city you are in, which type of role you are doing it, if you can actually increase the productivity using AI, all the other things doesn't matter, right? And now the salary differences that will be start seeing is 4x, 10x, 8x sort of a thing. Whereas even if there's a gender difference, it will be 10, 15, 20%. That is like the current sort of reports that I see. So you're comparing 10, 15% to 400%, 800%, 1000 or 1000%, right? So this is the right time for especially the girls to actually not just break those particular barriers, but actually rise much above it.
Wonderful. And with this, we conclude this amazing session that we have with Dr. Mohit. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching this session. And yes, do share about your experience on LinkedIn. Don't forget to tag Dr. Mohit and Girls Leading Tech. And Dr. Mohit, it's our honor to have you on board and for your valuable time on Sunday that you have given to us by sharing all the insights, all the value, all the knowledge that you have to our lovely audience. Thank you so much. from the
Thank
bottom
you.
of my heart and to our community. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day, weekend, and life ahead. Exploring a lot of fields and growing, challenging, take challenging roles and guiding others along the way. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Bye.